Hi YouTube, thank you so much for watching my breastfeeding and pumping class. This is actually day 3, which we will be talking all about pumping. So if you haven't, make sure to subscribe. It's the button on the bottom. It says subscribe on it, and that will be a great way to grow this channel so that we can get these resources to everybody out there.
Mommy, did you know?
Now for the first part of this session, we're actually going to talk about reasons that you would want to pump. So it's kind of an introduction for pumping. A lot of people, they just automatically, they want to start pumping, and I ask them, why do you want to start pumping? So it's very important to understand the reasons to pump. Number 1 is the most important reason, and that's for separation. If you and your baby were to be separated for any reason, let's say the baby has to go to the NICU, or let's say mom is unstable for whatever reason, usually would want to start pumping as soon as possible. Now they usually say within the first 1 to 3 hours, which actually a lot of people don't realize, but that is a big reason for pumping is separation, and you want to start pumping as soon as possible after your separation. Number 2 is supplementation. Let's say your baby is losing weight and the doctor wants to supplement, or let's say your baby's bilirubin is high and they say, hey, you should probably start supplementing. The best supplementation is your own breast milk. So you can try to pump. Let's say if your baby's bilirubin is high or something happens, look, nothing goes according to plan, and that's all right. In the end, we just want to make sure that your baby is healthy and your baby is eating. So if you want to pump for supplementation, of course you can give it a try. Just keep in mind that in the beginning, sometimes your production won't exactly be as high as you would be thinking, because it's not like in the movies where it just starts pouring out. It takes some time for your mature milk to come in. So if you do have to start pumping for supplementation, of course you can do that. And then another reason is sometimes if the baby won't latch. Now, if the baby doesn't latch for the first few hours, that's not really a big reason to pump. But if it's been over 24 hours and the baby still has not latched very well, then you would want to start pumping. Now here is the focus. Pumping is for stimulation. It's not for production. So even though you'll have the pump on, it doesn't mean that you're going to be getting milk out. The pump is not an indication of your milk supply. And I just want to really focus on that. Your baby is the best pump. Just because you might not have milk coming out of your pump does not necessarily mean that you don't have a milk supply or you don't have milk production. It's just the colostrum is very thick and it doesn't really come out with a pump. And then, of course, another reason you might want to pump is soreness. That's actually a very good way to help a nipple soreness. Is, let's say you have soreness and one of your breasts are hurting very, very bad. It's better to pump that side and put the baby to the other side, because if you just don't have any stimulation to that side, you're ending up kind of hurting your milk supply, and you want to protect your milk supply at all costs. And then another reason to pump, but you kind of have to be careful with it, is engorgement. Let's say you're so engorged that it hurts and that you're rock hard, and sometimes the baby even has a hard time latching. If that is the case, that your baby cannot latch on because you are so engorged, of course pump, but just enough to make it soft. This is my pro tip here. If you pump for engorgement and you just pump and release everything, it's going to make your engorgement much worse. So make sure you're hearing my words. If you're pumping for engorgement, just pump enough to get that kind of comfort level, but don't pump the whole breast. If you pump the whole breast, it's gonna end up kind of biting you in the butt in the end, just because whatever milk is coming out, your body is going to start thinking, okay, that's how much milk I need to produce. So if you're overstimulating, you're going to end up producing more milk. So those were my reasons for pumping. Now, of course, there's other reasons for pumping, but those were my top 5. That's separation between mom and baby, and that also is not only at birth, but let's say you're going to work. That's separation. You would want to start pumping to protect your milk supply. Number 2 is for supplementation. Your express milk is the best supplement for your baby. 3 is if the baby won't latch after 24 hours. 4 is for sore nipples, and 5 is for engorgement, but just enough to relieve the pressure. So guys, I'm going to let you in on my secret I have 5 keys to pumping that I know will really be helpful for you. Number 1 is early pumping. That is a huge key to pumping. If you are separated between you and your baby for whatever reason, if mommy's unstable, baby's unstable, for whatever reason, you have to start pumping early. Early stimulation to the breast is the best way to protect your milk supply. So you want to have early pumping. That's my key number 1. Key number 2 is frequent and effective pumping sessions. So frequent basically means you want to try to pump about the same amount of times that your baby will be eating. So if you have a newborn that's eating every 2 to 3 hours, you would want to pump every 2 to 3 hours. And usually it's about 15 minutes on each side. So we have early pumpings, number 1, frequent and effective pumpings, number 2. Number 3 is a very important key. That's wear the right bra. A lot of people don't realize if you have a bra with an underwire, sometimes not only does it clog your milk ducts and it can cause mastitis, but overall it helps with the milk flow if you have a nice flowing bra with no underwire. So that bra, it really is key. Number 4 is my personal favorite, and that's compression. Not only just have the pump here and go because that's pretty much how the machine sounds, but you actually want to compress. And you can even, what I do is I'll take my thumb and I'll put it here in like a circular motion, go down, and you can express as well. When you express, I usually make like a C. I put it around the areola, I go back, because that's where the milk production, all those receptors are for milk production are in the back of the breast. So don't just pinch the nipple and be like, see, I don't have anything. What you want to do, you want to have like a C and go towards the back of the breast and then compress out. So what you can do is go like this, and you can go down, and then you can manually express as well, and then come out. So that compression while you're pumping will help you like wonders. And then number 5 is something that a lot of people actually overlook, but it's to have the right size flange. That's the nipple shield, like that, not the nipple shield, but the breast shield. That's the part that actually goes over the nipple and the breast. What a lot of people don't realize is that that shield has different sizes. So what you want to make sure is that your nipple is in the right size, that it's not hitting the walls of that shield, of the flange, because if it's hitting the walls, you're not going to have adequate milk flow, and then you're going to end up stopping your milk supply. And then of course when you are pumping, you want to make sure for the intensity that it's strong enough that you can feel it letting down, if you feel that it's working, but not so strong that you feel pain. If you feel pain, that means you have to lower that dial a little bit, okay? So those were my 5 keys to pumping. Just really quick recap. It's early pumping, usually about 1 to 3 hours after separation. Frequent and effective pumping, every about 2 to 3 hours for about 15 minutes. Wear the right bra. That means a bra without any underwire that has a lot of milk flow that will help you to prevent mastitis. Number 4 is compression. Compression, actually, you'll be surprised how much compression helps with the milk flow, and it will really help your production. And number 5 is to wear the right size flange on your pump. I do offer consultations as well. So of course, if you have any questions, check out my website, mommydidyouknow.com. I also have a lot of nice ebooks. I have online classes for you. I have so many different resources. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't, and I look forward to having a wonderful relationship with you, developing with you and your family. You can also, I'd love to hear from you. You can put in your comments, your favorite keys or your favorite videos, and I look forward to having a wonderful day, and I hope you have a wonderful day as well. Now, the next part of my breastfeeding and pumping course is going to be how to use a manual pump. So actually, I have a treat for you. We actually have a manual pump, and I'm going to show you exactly how to use it. The first pump we're going to talk about is a manual pump. This is very simple. I usually like the manual because it fits really easily into my purse. So even after I go home, I can just fit this in. We can go to dinner with my husband, and I could just pump for a few minutes and then come back. And then you don't need the electrical outlet, of course. The only thing with this though is that you have to pump both sides. So you have to go one side, spend your time, then spend your time in the other. So to pump, the first thing you have is the shield or the flange. This is very important. You have to have the right size, because sometimes if you have a nipple that's too big, and when you put the nipple in, so this is my wonderful example, when you put the nipple in, you have to make sure that it's in the middle here, that it's not touching any of the walls of the flange. If it does, then your nipple's too big, you need a bigger size, because what will happen is you're going to constrict the flow of the milk. So we have the phalange, and then we have the bottle up. In the beginning, you'll want a small bottle, just because if you have a big one, it kind of discourages you, because you're not going to be making much milk to begin with in the first place. You're going to be making colostrum. Colostrum, it's not going to be coming out like the movies, where the movies, it comes out and it's just flowing, flowing, flowing. Colostrum is a lot less in quantity, but it's wonderful quality. It is jam-packed with everything the baby needs. Then the manual does have this lever. So when you put it on, you simulate just like the baby, basically. So first you're going to use the lever is the simulation, the initiation phase. So just like the baby comes on, latches kind of rapidly and shallow. So that's what you'll do. You'll have rapid, shallow, all right? Once you start getting that let down, just as the baby starts going from rapid, shallow sucks to more deeper, slower sucks. The exact same with mommy. Mommy wants to simulate exactly how the baby is sucking when she's using a manual pump. What's very important as well is not only to be pumping, going eat, and that's it, because not much is going to happen. What you want to do is you actually want to massage. So what you're going to do, the way that I like to massage is I like the C position. And what you do is underneath your armpit is where a lot of your milk vessels really get clogged. So what I like to do is I take my thumb and I make a circular motion coming from my armpit and down. And it's very important to have gravity. So if I can show you here, these are just all my pump supplies. So what I do is you can pump, you have your initiation phase, then you have your actual lactation phase. And what you do is you have your thumb here in a circular motion and you come down and you come down. That is very important. Then you do the exact same to the other side. Just like a cow, if you think about it that way, but you want to really milk to help with your milk production. So milk actually comes out a lot better when you're compressing and not just using the hand pump, that's it. So that was the hand pump, and tune in because we're also going to talk about the machine, the double electric pump, which works very well. Thank you very much. So we already have talked about the reasons for pumping, and we did talk about a manual pump. But what's very important is a double electric pump. This is very important because double electric pumps are a very important way that you can get milk from both sides at the same time. So it helps with your milk production, and also it's a lot easier for moms because they do both sides at the same time. So I know that pumps can sometimes be a little daunting for people because they see it and they're like, oh my goodness, there's so many tubings. But it's actually very simple, and we're going to go over it all right now. So this is just a standard Medela hospital grade pump. Most pumps when you go home have pretty much similar parts. They'll have a tubing set. It's very important that when you have your tubing set, you get it all unwired. As a nurse, I spend most of my day unwiring things, untangling wires. It's very important that this is secure. Sometimes also if it gets wet, it doesn't really suction that well. So then you make sure that it's secure down in here and then here as well. You make sure it's secure here and here as well. So they're both secure. I'm going to close it. Most pumps would have a similar mechanism of having this tubing. The next part that pretty much Medela, Anita, all the different pumps have is the phalange and then a bottle. I'm using small bottles because most of the time women after they deliver, they're not exactly going to be in like the movies, like how the movies show that the milk is flowing all over their place. They're usually going to have colostrum, which is not as much of quantity, but the quality is jam-packed with everything the baby needs. So that's why we're using smaller bottles, because that way we don't really get discouraged when we don't see all those ounces coming out like we think. So these phalanges have a little hole here. And then all we do is we attach the tubing part here and then here to both sides. So we just make sure that they're on both sides. When we put it on, I know a lot of people, they put it on and they hold it like this. But no, what you want to do is you actually want to hold it like this, or even in between your fingers like this. The reason is because then you can actually use your hands to massage at the same time. What I like to do also is I multitask a lot. So what I would actually do is I would hold it with the crook of my arm like this, and then actually here, and then I have my hand free. So if you're a multitasker like me, that is a big tip. It kind of helps so you can eat and, you know, do a diaper over here, or whatever you want to do. Well, technically not changing diapers, but you can pick up a diaper. You definitely don't want to change diapers when you're pumping. Anyways, so to start it, we have two buttons here. This one is the power button. So that obviously just turns it on and off. The other button that we have is here. This is the initiate button. This initiates just like a baby. So basically the baby will start suctioning rapidly and shallow, and that's what the pump does, and then it has a cycle that stops on its own about 15 minutes. Most pumps have that same cycle. The next part is very important, and that's the force and the intensity that you can control with this dial here. So you can actually hear how strong it's sucking. So you don't actually need to have the force that strong. Usually start it off in like 2 or 3. See how the intensity is for you, because you want it to be strong enough that you feel the suction, but not strong that you're in pain. If you end up being in pain, it'll actually inhibit your milk production. So you want to have strong enough that you feel the difference, but not so strong that you're going to be in pain, obviously. So when we have that, we just put the flange on, and you make sure that the nipple's in the middle, right here, that the nipple's in the middle and it's not facing the walls. What you'll notice is as you start pumping, your nipple does get a little bit bigger, so it might end up hitting the walls sometimes, but as long as when you start out that it's not hitting the walls, you want to make sure it's in the middle. If for whatever reason your pump is not suctioning, what I like to do is, one, I make sure that this is completely in. So you make sure that both sides are in. You make sure that this is completely attached. And I'll even see here to make sure that it's pumping and suctioning, which it is, and all of those are attached. If that still is not working, I open up here, and I will actually check to make sure that this is completely attached and that this is as well. What you'll notice is this sometimes, if it's not cleaned correctly, gets a lot of gunk inside, milk gunk, and then that can stop the suction as well. So you definitely want to check that.
Thank you so much for watching lesson 3 of my breastfeeding and pumping course. Make sure to sign up if you have not at mommydidyouknow.com. I have so many online videos for you, and make sure that you can also subscribe. Just a wonderful way to support me, support the channel, so that we can get these resources out for everybody. I really look forward to hearing from you, learning from each other, and I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day.